Hey, Jeff, do you know what type of podcast we are?
Well, we're not a history podcast.
That's correct. We're a comedy podcast. So any jokes, skits, or anything else we say is not reflective of our organizations, businesses, or any sponsors that we're associated with, even charities. So remind yourself, if you're offended, it's okay. It's just a joke.
Comic books, movies, growing up with Rokusuki. Superman before Zack Snyder ruined him. Man, that's something. Michael Keaton was the best Batman, while Christian Bale was just deadpan. No one remembers the other ones. Princess Leia in bikinis and Transformer Lamborghinis. Please don't let Shia LaBeouf ever act again. Please, God, no. Remembering tales from the crypt, back when Michael Bay wrote good scripts. He wrote the scripts. All right here is no mystery. It's the history of bad. It's bad. It's the history of bad. So bad. It's the history of bad ideas. It's the history of bad. It's bad. It's the history of bad. So bad. It's the history of bad ideas. Podcast.
Welcome to a collaboration of the history of bad ideas and Pittsburgh Nerd. I'm Jason.
And I'm Sean.
Okay. So, Sean.
Yes.
As we were talking before I fucked up and didn't actually record it in the first 2 minutes, this is a special.
I know that feeling all too well.
Yes.
This is. We talked about this months ago.
Yes. Yes.
And the last time I was on your fine program, where I told Blake, a fine gentleman who I have nothing but the utmost respect for, to eat a bag of dicks.
It's true. It's true. He understands.
I'm sure he's got nothing but he'll just be doing nothing ripping into me after that Thursday night debacle with the Steelers and Browns. But we're not going to get into that. Yeah.
You had one job to do, guys. Come on.
One job. But your guys really don't watch that much wrestling.
No, they don't. Brian does from time to time.
Right. Ian and Nancy don't watch much, if any, wrestling. Ian doesn't watch at all. Like, if I bring up wrestling, his eyes glaze over.
Yep.
So, I have nobody to talk to about this, and neither do you. So we thought, well, we should do something. We're not insiders. I'm not Uncle Dave.
It's true.
But just having somebody who you and I could talk to, about the big events, and we just want to start slow. You know. But I look forward to this because, I feel like I have a lot to say. I'm sure you do too. Yeah.
So this is going to be a wrestling special collaboration. The goal is, at least to start, this is for Survivor Series 2024.
Yes.
And then we'll do Royal Rumble, which is my favorite event of any of them. AEW, WWE, NWA, MLW, any of them. Royal Rumble is my favorite. And then the idea is WrestleMania and SummerSlam. And maybe if there's something interesting coming up, we could throw something in there. I always like Money in the Bank too. So
Money in the Bank is like the fifth almost major event that they have.
They've kind of, my thought is that Money in the Bank is great. Over the years, it's kind of lessened because I feel like it's a gimmick. Obviously, it's all a gimmick, but I'm not as excited for it, but I do enjoy it because I like the ladder matches. And usually they pick the safe people to win the briefcases, but in the rare case that they don't, it's kind of nice to see they have somebody new step up into the upper card. At least
or somebody completely have it screwed up like Austin Theory did.
Ugh. Hey, I'm going to challenge for the U.S. title. What the fuck? Come on.
I felt so bad for that guy because he was just in a no-win situation.
Well,
and the worst part is he's really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like him a lot. He's like their version of MJF almost.
Mm-hmm.
And
I feel like Grayson Waller and him and Austin Theory are a really good tag team, and I wish they would push them a little bit more.
I honestly, I wish they would feud with each other.
Oh, that would be good. I do like that. Who's the good guy?
I would make Theory the good guy.
Okay.
Like I would give him a face run to see how he does.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you have to turn him back.
Yeah.
But like I don't think Grayson Waller, and I like him a lot too. I can't see him ever like winning over the crowd like that. I think Theory could. I think he has it in him, like kind of like a Jericho. He can have that good guy run, but eventually he's got to go back to being a bad guy.
Yeah. And I think Grayson Waller does a really good job being a dick on social media too. He's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's hysterical.
But yeah. So we digress. But yeah, so we're going to talk wrestling today. So I apologize for people that don't like wrestling, but I think there's a lot of people out there that do. We're kind of in a second renaissance here. Well, I guess it would be a third. You had the 80s, and then you had the Attitude Era, and now you have this. And as much as people would like to, the insiders say the Ruthless Aggression was a renaissance, it was not. It was not in the mainstream. So I feel like this is the third renaissance that they're doing, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, so. I feel like the Ruthless Aggression era just kind of fed off of what was left of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
Because the Ruthless Aggression era takes place like almost immediately after Vince buys WCW.
Which could have been good.
Well, but like it becomes that thing though of like, so the Attitude Era ends and the Ruthless Aggression era begins, and it's still like it was like the dwindling of like Stone Cold was no longer really around. Shawn Michaels makes his comeback. Triple H is still there. The Rock shows up from time to time, but then you had others like Cena and Edge and guys like that stepping up. Like Taker was still prominent. Like I think at that point though, he was only coming around for WrestleMania season.
Yeah.
So but you had guys who were like, it was like an overlapping era. So like that era, while it's not as bad as I think some people think it might be, it's not as good either, because it's kind of like it's a transition era.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of like the not as bad as the early 90s, the New Generation.
Yeah.
But New Generation still, the mid 90s actually didn't have a horrible, I mean, the storylines were awful, some of them, but the top ones were not. Like you had Bret Hart come into his own, Razor Ramon, Kevin Nash, Diesel. Like you had those guys, Owen Hart, God rest his soul. Like you had those guys coming in, like they started building up. And I felt like I agree with you. The Ruthless Aggression era, you had Cena come into his own. You had a lot more guys really start taking over that you'll see for the next 10, 15 years. My thought was, could you imagine that Ruthless Aggression era with Triple H booking it? That's fancy booking because obviously he was wrestling still, but just like if you take him now and he booked that Ruthless Aggression era, I think instead of Vince, I think you would have had a lot more you would have had a better storyline. I think it would have done better with it.
I think what's amazing is like we look back and you look at like the Attitude Era, and that was Vince adjusting because he had to.
Yes. He didn't want to.
No, he didn't want to, but ECW was biting at his heels, and he was already the second company. Like he was in the middle of the 87 weeks of getting his ass handed to him, and it was an adjustment he had to make.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever wanted to. And like you see that when it comes back, like it gets back to being cartoonish almost.
Yeah.
Like, the Ruthless Aggression era doesn't have that cartoonishness, but like almost immediately after it, like it's like, I mean, Cena's booked like Hogan. He's the superhero, which I don't like. That's fine. Like I don't care, because like John Cena had a tough job. He had to carry the company at a time period where like everything was trash.
Yeah,
and he did the best job that he could. Like he didn't have much to work with. Like his biggest competitor was Edge.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and I mean, and while they had some great matches, it was still like he was getting forced into like, you know, fighting like Punjabi cell matches and stuff like. I mean, it was like this was like Vince being able to be like, you know, let's see if we can get a cartoon again. You know, like shit like that. Like, you know, let's bring back the ice cream bars. Like, you know, it was like, oh, wow. And then, so you kind of have to ask that question of like, was Vince ever really a good booker?
Correct. I think he had a great vision in the 80s, right, to combine some of the territories. You know, and whether, you know, the old school people were like, oh, he combined it and destroyed the territories. Well, he did kind of, but at the same time, he wanted it to grow. I don't have a problem with him doing that at all. He wanted a vision. No one else thought about it.
Right.
So
Vince is a great businessman. I don't think he's a booker.
No.
Because there were guys like even in the 80s that like you're like, again, I understand Hulk Hogan's your attraction, but like, why didn't Paul Orndorff get a run with like the WWF title
or Intercontinental at least?
Yeah,
you know, you had Orndorff, you had DiBiase. To be honest, Mr. Perfect.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely.
That guy could sell the shit out of anything.
Right. There were 4 or 5 guys who should have had like top guy runs, but because Vince believed in like you have to have the good guy on top. Like that was the face of the company. That was Hogan could have always been the face of the company. He didn't have to have the belt to be that.
And I think that's a pure 1980s type thing too, right? Because you always had the superhero that was the best, right? You had that was the biggest issue. Now it's a completely reverse the script. Now you're like, hey, the money is in the chase, right? That's the whole thing. You don't have faces except for Cody Rhodes lately that really have held that title, the top championship for a long time. It's usually always the heel.
Thing. Like if you really think about it, NWA, Ric Flair was the title holder. AEW was Nick Botwinkle.
Yep.
Like I mean Nick Botwinkle, like he like I'm so glad he stayed where he was because like if Vince got a hold of him, he would have been like, you know, a goof.
Yes.
But even like in World Championship, like down in Texas, like it was always the Von Erichs were pursuing the belt. Never. Yeah. You know, it was, you know, they'd have the title and then somebody would screw him out of it. Like WWF was the only one where it was like, well, the good guy has to have the title. Like everybody else, it was the chase.
Yeah.
Here's your white bread hero who's coming up and he's going to, you know, how can he defeat the villainous champion? And that was, everybody else did that but Vince. And I mean, I guess in a way, Vince was right because nobody else exists, but it's that odd thing of like Vince was just like, no, I'm putting the belt on Hogan for 4 years.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm looking at right now because I do love stats, especially wrestling stats. I'm looking at Sting. Like he held the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. The longest reign was 188 days.
Yeah.
Let's see, WCW World Championship. Maybe 134 days.
Yeah.
So that's what, 4 months? A little bit over 4 months, 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme, there's a reason why Ric Flair lost the title 15 times or 16 times, right? Because he was a good villain to chase after. He was cocky. He had his little stable of 4 horsemen. I mean, there's a reason Dusty Rhodes did not win it for that long either. Because it was always about you had these guys in.
Before that, Harley Race.
Yeah. Who I've watched some of his matches probably in the last year or so on the WWE network, well, on Peacock or whatever it is now, the cock.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're slower. You got to understand that era is slower, right? But
exactly.
He was a good villain. Harley Race was a great villain. And I don't think people obviously don't see that anymore because a lot of people don't go back and watch that stuff, but Triple H has said that that's one of his motivations, like for his character was Harley Race. And I think you can see a lot of Harley Race in the booking that Triple H does now. And not that Triple H is perfect as a booker, don't get me wrong, but you do see some of that. Like if he's taking old school, I feel like he's doing more Harley Race than Ric Flair.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like you could tell what he's being influenced by. Like what in his mind when he's putting, because first off, like modern from like post WCW buyout to the end of his run, like all Vince could book was the top of the card.
Yeah.
Like everything after, like it became like WCW, where like if it wasn't the NWO storyline, Eric Bischoff didn't care.
No.
And it was the same with Vince. Like it was like, I can book the top of the card, but like the rest of the card, they can change on a dime. And it became problematic, and it showed in the material. And with Hunter, it feels like he's got a plan for storyline A, storyline B, storyline C. Like everybody who's on the show, there is some sort of plan that he has. And
even if
it shows,
like even in the background, not to interrupt, but like in the background, like when they do interviews, there's people interacting, there's wrestlers interacting, which is amazing on Raw to watch, and SmackDown. Like you said, they all are connected. Like you see Otis talking to Maxine, or you see, teams working, or you see, Johnny Gargano getting bitch slapped by his tag team partner, basically.
Yeah. I mean, there's always, like, you have to pay attention. They've made there's those shows where you can't be on your cell phone. Like you have to be paying attention at all times, because the little things, and we're going to get into this, I'm sure, little things are going to be, you're going to see it in the background and go, oh shit, okay, that happened. And then later on something happens. You're like, okay, that goes back to what I saw in the background during this interview, where that would have, like with Vince, it had to be like a clean, nobody behind there. Like,
no.
You walk into a shot, you got fined. Like it was, that just would never happen.
Not to go off, but the best interview ever backstage was Matt Riddle forgetting his lines and just scooting away.
Yeah. I mean, it does make up with who was it? I can't remember. We're live, kid.
Yeah. What?
And awesome. It was not awesome.
Who was that? I'm going to look that
Sid
up.
Vicious.
Yes.
Psycho Sid. You forget. You're like, shit. I got to start it. We're live, kid.
Interesting thing. The longest heavyweight title reign that Sting ever had was as TNA champion in 2008 to 2009. He had 189 days. He topped his NWA by 1 day.
Wow.
That's kind of interesting. Like, obviously he's won it a lot, but I mean, most of them, like he had one for 27 days, one for 108 days. I mean, not horrible, but like 43 days. Of course, that was also WCW at the end when, they were just like, here, just titles don't matter. Have a good day. Yeah, you're going to lose it. 56 days, 11 days. I mean, he really... I'm just kind of surprised by that. I would think that he would have a lot longer ones. So.
No, because it was always... The money's always in the chase. I've heard so many people, like Jim Cornette would talk about, like, the money's in the chase.
And
it's showing now in WWE. Like, the hottest storyline was Cody Rhodes. Finish the story. The story's finished, and now his title run has been meh because no one wants to see the villain.
Yeah.
Like there's no chase for the villain. It's and unless you're Hogan fighting monsters, which is what they did. Like it was just who was the monster of the month for Hogan.
Yeah.
Like there's no money in that. So at some point, yes, he has to lose the title and then begin a new chase.
Do you are you bored with Cody Rhodes right now? His title reign?
I think his title reign has suffered from the lack of quality opponents. Like Kevin Owens is going to be very interesting. But I like Kevin Owens a lot.
I do too.
And like and I like the promo he cut on SmackDown about, I'm right because you teamed with Roman Reigns and a man who tried to take everything away from me for 4 years. Yeah. Excuse me. So like his promo was like awesome, and like his justification is like righteous almost. Like he's becoming the villain like a Thanos, where you're like, he's made some good points. I don't like the way he's going about it, but he's made some good points. But like overall, like you look at his title run, and it's like, yeah, he had the match with Solo, but that wasn't like that match was almost like. Well, that was the match Roman Reigns comes back.
Yeah.
And we all knew that was the match Roman Reigns was going to come back at.
So his opponent on premium live events has been Cody Rhodes. Since he won the title was AJ Styles, Logan Paul, Solo Sikoa, and Kevin Owens now coming up.
Yeah. And he fought Kevin at in Germany.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you look at that, like the AJ Styles feud, and it's sad because it's like, AJ's better than that.
Yeah, I think Father Time's catching up to him right now.
Yeah, I think so too, and it's rough, but it was like even that feud, it was like, man, AJ's so good. But you're the first one, like he's not going to lose the title now.
No. So
you had no belief that AJ had a shot.
I'm interested to see if AJ leaves. I wouldn't think so because I think he's set for life in the backstage area. But I wouldn't mind. Personally, like selfishly, I would love AJ to go to AEW and just kind of mix it up with some of those guys. And I think it's also interesting because Kevin Owens' title or contract is coming up soon too. So I don't think Kevin Owens would leave either. But I think it depends on how he looks in this title match coming up against Cody Rhodes. I think that's going to be the big thing.
I feel like if AJ went to AEW, like he'd have like a 3-month run.
Yeah,
like because that's the problem with Tony Khan. Tony Khan's like, I got a new toy. This new toy's exciting, and then all of a sudden I'm bored with my new toy.
Yeah,
and he does it all the time with like wrestlers that he brings in. Like the Hurt Syndicate's like so hot over there, and it's like, well, when is this going to like end? Like when is Tony going to be like, yeah, okay, I'm done with this. Let's move on to something else.
I'm hoping that Tony. The rumor is that he's hired a lot of people backstage to help him with storylines. I hope that continues because AEW. I'll be honest, like I loved AEW when it first started, and I would buy the pay-per-views, not often because I didn't want to spend $60 on them, but I would buy them once in a while. But like, I like the storyline now with Moxley taking over. I like Moxley. I like his group, but I don't need the Young Bucks to come back and be the saviors. I don't need Kenny Omega to come back and be the savior. I don't need that. Because one, I just don't care about the Elite anymore. I never liked the Young Bucks. They annoy the shit out of me. Kenny Omega's great, but I'm never like fully invested in him as everyone else has, I think. He's a hell of a wrestler, don't get me wrong. I just don't connect with him at all. So you're right. Like I'm hoping that with adding more people to the backstage area that Tony will start dividing up some of the storylines. I'm hoping, Marshall does some of it. I'm hoping Bryan Danielson comes back and does some of it. I'm hoping, and they've hired other people too from WWE to help them, and I think it has helped a little bit. It's more focused. But yeah, I agree. Like you only can buy so many new toys, and then you get bored of them all. Yeah. And
I think there are a number of problems with AEW. And I think the biggest one is Ring of Honor.
Yes.
Like there has to be a clear divide between AEW and Ring of Honor, and there isn't.
No.
Like the Ring of Honor Championship is defended more often on AEW TV than it is on Ring of Honor. And like the face of Ring of Honor is Athena.
Yeah.
The women's champion, and like, and there's some good stuff going on there. Like the Athena storyline with Billy Starks has always been very, very interesting. But like there has to be a clear divide. Like you need to separate them.
Yeah.
At some point.
Well,
like you have to.
They said that Jericho getting the title is part of the thing, because Tony Khan has mentioned on a couple times on his Twitter or whatever it's called, social media, that, you know, it does look like Ring of Honor may be getting, and that's the rumblings that they may be getting their own thing on True TV. That's the thing, and that's why they put the title on Jericho. Which, again, I agree with you. If that's true, great. More wrestling, better. You know what? Even if I don't have to watch, even if I don't watch it, it's fine. Just put more wrestling out there, because I'll stop. Like the Women of Wrestling, the WOW program, I stop and watch that sometimes on Saturday nights. It's not good wrestling, but it's enjoyable. It's wrestling, whatever. But I think if you get Ring of Honor on True TV, you got to put Jericho there full time. You got to put Mark Briscoe there. You got to take those guys and just leave them over there. You can have them come back to AEW from time to time, but just leave them there. Let them be that's their thing. Right. You paid $5 million or so for Ring of Honor. Use it. And I know that he probably got stuck because there's no TV deal yet, but at the same time, you got to separate them. You got to. But he doesn't. I don't care about watching Ring of Honor titles on AEW. I really don't.
And it dilutes the product. It's like, okay, well, there's the AEW World Champion. There's the Ring of Honor World Champion. There's the AEW Tag Team Champions. There's the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Like, and you're just like, well, why? Like, why don't you just merge? Like, either do one of two things. Either merge it, and, you know, like you have like a match to unify the titles, or, you know, separate it, because because I feel like if you're a casual fan, and let's face facts, like that's who you have to fight for as a casual fan. Mm-hmm. That becomes confusing when everybody's got a belt.
Yeah,
it's like, well, who's not a champion in this? Like, you know, this doesn't make any sense. So, like, you have to have that separation, and it has to be a strong separation. Like, I if you want to record Ring of Honor TV at AEW shows, that I get. Mm-hmm. Because the person who's coming to an AEW show is a hardcore fan anyway. Yeah. So they understand that. But other than that, like on the actual shows, like you just have to have that hardcore separation, even like with like the announcers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I hope with Ring of Honor, they could have built it as an NXT. And I know you have the history of a Ring of Honor, right? But you could have built it as a feeder system. You really could have. You could have put the younger people there, the ones that don't have, you know, as much experience. Who's the boxer guy? I forget. Yeah. He was interesting, like his 2 month or his 1 month feud with Cody. But like, you put those guys there, like put them in, let them do it, because now Tony's relying mostly on just the independents to train these guys, right? Hey, you can book anything through independent. I don't care. Go do it. But that's not a great system to run with long term. You need something to build up. And if you don't use that, then use Dustin Rhodes' minor league system. Like, use something. And I know that they have in the past, but if you want them to get TV exposure in that, you got to use Ring of Honor as NXT and put the guys that aren't being used there. You know, hell, where's Ricky Starks? Put him there. Jesus.
Oh, that has become a fiasco of epic proportions. I mean, he showed up in GCW.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I don't know what Ricky Starks did. Like, I don't know if it's just that he's like good friends with Cody and Tony's like, well, you can go fuck yourself. Mm-hmm. But like, he has just been ostracized.
Yeah. You know, and I don't mind that Rusev has been off TV. I'll be honest, like, he's enjoyable. But I think he has so many, if the rumors are to be true, so many backstage issues, and he thinks he's higher than he is. To be honest, I would cut him and have a good day. I don't care. You're not worth it. Your Redeemer character was awesome, but they dropped the ball with it a little bit, and that's Tony's fault too. But like, let him go, because I don't think WWE is going to do much with him anyways. They have enough guys in place that they're like, whatever. Rusev is not going to change the needle much. I think Ricky Starks, I think they don't drop him because I think he could move the needle. He would be hilarious in NXT, and I think he would be amazing on it. Not that he needs NXT, but I feel like he could he would be a popular choice. He reminds me so much of The Rock, and I know everybody makes that comparison, but he's good on the mic, and that's what AEW needs. And like you said, I don't understand what the problem is. Put him up there. I was watching him in MLW for a long time. And he was awesome. And it's like, what are you doing? He's your best guy to talk. He's been disappointing to me. Like, he could have been the face of AEW, and to be honest, he should be taking Danny Garcia's role. Like, I couldn't give two shits about Danny Garcia. He's boring. I don't think he's that great on the mic. I just don't care. But Ricky Starks in that role would have been amazing. So, but good for Danny Garcia for getting a new contract.
Yeah, I mean, good. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Danny Garcia. He got a new contract. I mean, I like watching him wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
But like the second he talks, I'm just like, it's like listening to Charlie Brown's Teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's like, oh man,
he did win the title last night.
Yeah, he won the TNT title.
Yeah. Yeah. But
I mean, I feel like Tony's going to give, because like him and Wheeler Yuta had that fantastic feud over the Pure Championship in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like those are two guys he's going to push. I think the next guy who's going to be AEW champion is going to be Darby.
I do too, and I think Christian Cage takes it from him like that same day.
That I would be so bummed out if that happened.
I think it's going to happen. I think Christian Cage is going to come out and be, how do you become the number one heel or a top heel, even though he already is? You come out, you win it. I think that would be hilarious. Yeah. I could see him beating Moxley, and then Moxley just going ape shit on him, right? Beating the shit out of him after the match, walking away, and then Christian Cage comes down. I think that would be hilarious. But I do think Darby Allin is a champion for a while. I don't think he's your long-term guy, but I think he's a good bridge to the next group of people that are going to get the title. Because you figure Lashley's going to eventually get the title, in theory, if he doesn't get bored with him. You figure... I'm trying to think who else is up there. I don't know if MJF needs it right now.
He needs something because he is...
Yeah.
Like, I think part of the problem is like he's off doing other things.
Yeah.
Like I know he's doing like Happy Gilmore too, and he's doing other projects. But like at some point, Tony's got to be like, I know you want to do this other shit, and we give you some leeway, but I think you're taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
And we're still paying you handsomely.
Yeah. I think Switchblade might be one of those guys that gets the title run. He's kind of grown on me lately.
Ospreay.
Yeah, I forgot about Ospreay. Yeah, he will. So I think those are the next guys. I think Strickland eventually gets it back because to be honest, I think AEW money men, like their top Austin Rock guys is Strickland, Ospreay. Ospreay is a good one. Adam Cole's up there, but I don't think he ever reaches that same plateau or that same level. But I think Ospreay and Strickland are going to be, and MJF are going to be your three guys you're building towards, right? I know that they want Darby Allin to be up there too, and I think he's going to be a good one. He reminds me of just not his wrestling style, but his place in the system reminds me of Mankind, Cactus Jack from the Attitude Era. Like, you can give him the title, he'll be fine for a couple months, and then you switch it to somebody else. He's a good bridge guy to go to the next guy a couple times. At least that's how I kind of see Darby Allin with it. So,
I would like to see him like get at least like a 6-month run with it.
Yeah, because he's going to put on good matches.
Well, but not only that, but it's now he's the guy. Like you look at him, like I've stood in front of Darby. I got Nancy got Darby Allin's autograph. I was right there. I talked to him. He's wiry. Like you look at him and like he's thicker than you see on TV, but it's 185 pounds.
Yeah.
That's 109. Like he's not topping 200.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like 5'8", 5'9".
Mm-hmm.
So like you give him like a feud with one of the guys from House of Black.
Yeah.
Like somebody who's just going to toss him around like a rag doll, but yet he finds a way to get that victory.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody like that. Like you give him a run with guys like that for a little bit just to let him have that run, and it would be money because like people are like, oh, man, how's Darby going to beat this guy?
Yeah,
you know,
you got Brody King, you got Black Taurus, you got even Lashley to a point. In all honesty, you could put him in there.
Like if he loses the title to Lashley, like you go like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Like, but you give him like 4 or 5 months of like just getting the shit beat out of him by these bigger guys.
Yeah.
To the point that like by the time he gets to Lashley, it's like, well, you lost to Lashley because you had nothing left.
It's kind of like they did with Orange Cassidy when he kept defending his title. Real quick, it looks like Kevin Owens is signing a new contract from WrestleVotes. Bill Apter stated that it's not done yet, but it's basically like a handshake deal. Because his contract was up in January of 2025.
Well, good for him. I'm sure. I know Triple H likes him.
Yeah,
good old Paul Levesque there. He pushed him in NXT, and when he got called up, like for some reason Vince was like, I don't know what Paul saw in you, and like made him into a clown.
Yeah,
and then the second Vince was gone. Like he came back to being the prize fighter.
Yeah.
Like that heart, like that nasty reputation. And I love that with him. Like, so I'm happy he's got another contract. I'm sure he's happy with WWE. I'm sure the way, Hunter treats him is probably what he wants.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's in the 40s. He is in his is in his 40s. He has a family, and he would be a great backstage guy. I could see him working with Triple H in the backstage area easy.
Right. Plus, also, like, I mean, all these rumors about like WWE pulling back on their schedule.
Yeah. Yep.
Is probably very like the major enticement AEW had, or any other wrestling company has, is the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
WWE's like, you're on the road 300 days out of the year was like insanity.
Yes.
And like, if you're pulling that back and you're saying now like 150 days on the road, like half, like that's got to be a major enticement now to like stay, because you do get more family time. Like WWE even like they did back-to-back tapings of Raw and SmackDown this week so that people could be at home with their family for Thanksgiving.
How odd is that to see, right?
Vince would have never done that.
No.
Vince would have you wrestling on Thanksgiving.
He would be like, you're wrestling Thanksgiving. Fuck you. I have a turkey in the backstage area. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Well,
that would have been Vince.
Well, and they're smart too, right? Because they're doing European tours, okay? Hey, we're going to go to Europe for a week, make more than we would if we did 16 shows in Huntsville, Alabama, and the whole South, right? So we're going to go for a week there, do 7 shows, come back and make as much money as we would for 3 months of house shows in America. Now, the downside is this. So the Rumble's in Indianapolis, right?
Right.
It's an hour away from me, hour and 10 minutes away from me. My kid, my daughter... So my oldest son, who's almost 15, he doesn't care about wrestling anymore. He jokes with me on it. He's like, okay. But he used to watch it, but then gave up. My youngest son is 8. He's somewhat into it, but not really. Like he plays the wrestler sometimes. He watches it with me to humor me, I think. And he enjoys it, but not great. But my daughter's 11, and she loves it. She will tell you history. She will tell you the female wrestlers. She will tell you some of the male wrestlers too, but she likes the female wrestlers. So I thought about, okay, if I take her for her birthday to the Rumble, me and her, and I thought that would be great. I went online, and nosebleed section straight from Ticketmaster or whatever WWE uses is $400 a piece. And I'm like, well, they sell out everywhere now. They're hot. So $400, people, they can charge it. And people online are bitching about it and all that, which I get. But I'm like, I can't justify $1,000 basically with fees and everything else to go into the top rows of Indianapolis, their field house, and barely see what I'm watching.
Lucas Oil Stadium.
That's what it is. Sorry, yes, Lucas Oil.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you're talking, you're paying $1,000 for 2 tickets.
Yeah.
To watch the Royal Rumble on the Jumbotron.
Yep. Yep. Now I don't have $1,000 anyways to spend on it, but I was like, okay, birthday present, be a fun time for me and her to go up there. I don't have to rent a hotel because we can drive home. It's only an hour and 10 minutes, no issue. And I'm just like, shit. I just can't justify it. I can't. Now, if you're telling me $400 and not on the floor, but the first level of that, okay, there I find that reasonable. But I was expecting $150 for a ticket, and I saw that $400. I was like, I can't justify. But again, WWE can do it because it's a hot thing now. So it has pluses and minuses that they're charging this much, and they're going to sell out. They're not going to have issues. But yeah, for the middle class, you're just like, son of a bitch, I can't do that. I can't afford that.
Well, like that's the thing. Like those type of events are Super Bowl level events now.
Yeah, they are.
That it's not meant for you and I to go to. They are catering to that Super Bowl level person who's willing to drop $1,000 for 2 tickets or more.
So they sold 45,000 tickets in the first week. Jeez, oh Pete.
And that's a state. I mean, as for a football, I think that stadium holds 60 to 70,000.
Jeez, oh. I'm just trying to go online now just to see if they have anything available. So I told my wife my whole bucket list, right, is get the hard camera side so you can see us first row of the Rumble, because just to see them get thrown over the rope, you're on it, it's awesome, right? That would be awesome, but they're thousands of dollars. So I did go years ago with a buddy of mine, or a coworker back then, to the Rumble in Atlanta, that Triple H one. That Mr. Perfect was the final four. I think Rikishi was an Angle. And we went to that, and I think we paid $60, $70, and they were good seats. But yeah, and it was fun to see, because it's fun to be in that environment, counting down, who's going to come out in that. But yeah, so here we go. Row 11, section 605, which is the highest you can get in the corner, is $151 for those seats. Jeez. If you go to section 400, which is just the level below, it's $700.
Wow.
That's unbelievable.
That is. That's Rolling Stones, Bruce Springsteen money.
Yeah. Now, now, trust me, I'd rather see wrestling than concerts, so I get it. But yeah, I'm kind of curious. Let's see. My dream spot here. They don't even have the first row. So let's see. If you go to that, the third row is $6,000.
Wow.
On the hard camera side, so that you would be seen.
But you get to take the chairs home.
Well, that's true. It's too cheap not to buy.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my wife that. I was like, this would be a good birthday present. $6,000, $12,000, honey. Come on.
Yeah. And we get chairs.
Yeah. Honey, we don't even need kitchen chairs anymore. Look, we got 2 new ones.
Here's a chair with Cody Rhodes' face on it.
Bring out my parents are coming over. Bring out the fine chairs. Fuck the china. Right, yeah. Bring out the fine chair. I would probably get mugged on the way to the car for the chairs. Well, there goes that.
Right.
Okay, so let's get into this here. We got the Survivor Series coming up. I have the card here, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of these, but this is what I have. This is from CBS Sports, which actually has a really good wrestling section.
They do, yeah.
Let's see. So we'll start with you want to start at the bottom and then move up?
Sure.
Okay. So, before we do that, give me, just so everybody knows, if this is their first time listening to you and I, what is your top 2 guys from wrestling of all time? Put you on the spot there.
My 2 favorite wrestlers.
Yeah,
of all time?
not like they're the best wrestlers out there, but your favorite ones that you could watch all day wrestle on the network.
Ric Flair.
Okay.
The franchise Shane Douglas.
Ooh, that's a good one. Do like franchise. I'm going with Bret Hart. Even with his 5 moves of doom. That's a tough one. I would say The Rock, but his matches were never great. I could listen to him talk all day though in his backstage promos. I think it probably would have to be Ric Flair. Well, you know what? No, I'll go take it back. Chris Jericho from the 90s. Not now, but Chris Jericho from the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were probably, I love Eddie Guerrero is a close third. Good old Eddie.
Yeah.
Oh, so.
Yeah. I remember I had just started watching ECW.
Mm-hmm.
Like my friend of mine was like, because I wasn't watching wrestling. Like the new generation was like, I was like, this is awful. I stopped watching. And a friend of mine was like, you need to watch ECW. It's on at 2:00 in the morning on channel 22. Just, you have to watch it. I'm like, okay, I'll check this out because you said so. And the first match I saw was 911, aka Brian Adams,
yes.
Versus Tommy Dreamer, and he choke slams Tommy Dreamer off of that like little balcony area, like 4 tables, and Joey Styles like, oh my god, so I call 911. I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yeah,
But immediately after that, like I recorded and I showed my dad, and like we started passing tapes around like my friends and stuff. But Raven was supposed to appear at a Pro Wrestling Express show in what was then Eastland Mall.
Oh, geez.
Eastland, it no longer exists. And also the BWO were going to be there. Stevie Richards and the Blue Meanie.
Yes. Not Nova?
So, no, Nova wasn't there.
Okay.
So I convinced my dad, like, let's go to this independent wrestling show, to see Raven. Because my dad, we like, Raven was, again, like, a major attraction.
Mm-hmm.
So we go, and the first half of the show, Stevie Richards and Blue Meanie wrestle. And then, like, at the intermission, I went and got their autograph. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is, at that time, I'm 6'4", I'm about 270 pounds. And I walk over to them, I'm like, can I get an autograph? They're like, yeah, sure, no problem. They're signing it. Like, they're asking me, like, well, how's the merchandise flowing? Like, so put a lot of people buying, a lot of people over there. I'm like, oh, there was a line. I really don't know. And they're looking at me like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I bought some stuff, They're like, you're not a wrestler? I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, oh, okay. Because I'm like I said, I'm 6'4". I had a mullet still. It was,
Yeah.
I looked like a wrestler, except I wasn't.
Did you offer to be a wrestler there for them?
I thought about it for like about 10 minutes, and then I was like, no, I don't think I could do this. Like that. But there was a small period of time where I was like, I maybe I could. They thought, and then I was like, no, never mind.
I feel like my body would break down too easily.
Yeah,
I feel like in a heartbeat, like I would get killed.
So the second half of the show begins, and the one guy comes out, and the baby face is in the ring who's supposed to fight Raven, and the heel comes out, and he's like, unfortunately, Raven was not able to make it. So
drunk.
And yeah, probably. And me and my dad are like, fuck. And the guy goes, but I found a suitable replacement for him. You could call him a franchise replacement. And they hit the music, and Shane Douglas comes on and just spends the entire match just beating the fuck out of it. The kid's name was JB Destiny. I'll never forget that. Because, of course, like me and my dad, like the second he comes out, we're immediately standing up with like our 3 fingers up in the air, like complete marks. And Douglas is just beating the hell out of this kid. And there's this little old lady, and she's just yelling, get him, JB, get him. And Douglas has JB Destiny in the corner where this little old lady is sitting, beating the hell out of him, mocking her the entire time. And it was like the greatest thing I ever saw. And like after that, I was like, okay, Shane Douglas is my guy. Not only is he from Pittsburgh, but just watching him just you just mock this little old lady for cheering on her favorite wrestler was just worth the price of admission.
JB Destiny is 5'11", 200 pounds. He does have a MySpace account. Let's see here. He began his in-ring career in 1989. He retired in 2012. And let me see if I can find his matches here. He was in Dogma as an actor.
Yeah, well, that was from the Pittsburgh, so yeah.
In his last match on February 18th, 2012, he beat JR Mega.
Wow.
Let's see here. He was tag team partners with Paul Atlas. I've heard of that name.
Yeah.
I remember that. He was with Paul Atlas for a little bit, even in 2010. He was in the Pittsburgh. He was in the Berg Brawl, which looks like a Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
in 2010.
CZW does that.
I'm trying to see if there's anybody else in there. Paul Atlas is in there again. Kid Cupid. Yeah. Okay. No one else that we know.
Yeah, I remember the villain. The name came to me finally. His name was Lou Marconi.
Okay.
That we call him Beef Stew Lou Marconi. He was from Cleveland.
Well, there's many issues with that, right?
Yeah, but like it was like we would cheer him. Like he would end up like doing like when ECW would come to town to do a house show. Like he'd end up like on the card and we'd cheer him, even though he was from Cleveland because we knew who he was.
Yeah, I'm looking here. He actually had a pretty decent career. JB Destiny. He was in NWA a lot in 2000s, early 2000s. PWX TV title champion.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. Good for him.
Yeah, and Pro Wrestling Express is still around. Like they're one of the oldest independent promotions in Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah.
He teamed up with a guy named Big Papa Gator.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All sorts of fun stuff there.
Okay, so back to the Rumble here. Sorry.
Back to the Rumble, yeah. We're back to Survivor Series.
Let's see here. So the first match we'll do is, I completely forgot this was taking place, is Sheamus versus Braun Breaker for the Intercontinental Championship. Sheamus has never won the Intercontinental Championship. Would he win it to be the Grand Slam champion?
I don't see him beating Braun Breaker at this moment, no.
I hope he doesn't, because Braun Breaker needs something. I don't understand him losing to Jey Uso and then winning it back. Fine, whatever. He can't lose it again, right? He can't lose it this early.
No, you got to give him a run. You got to take him to WrestleMania with that belt.
I think so too. And to be honest, I think if you take him to WrestleMania with that belt, have him in a fatal 4-way match and win it. Like have him beat Sheamus, a couple of those guys, Pete Dunne, like make him beat those tough, hard-nosed guys.
It's either that or if you're going to take the belt off him, he has to win at the Royal Rumble then.
Yeah.
Like he would have to be the guy.
Does he take out Cody, you think? You think he ends that Cody's reign?
I think you could do it because that match is going like whatever you do with Cody, whatever you do with the World Heavyweight Champion, everything's going to be overshadowed because that is going to be The Rock versus Roman WrestleMania.
Yes,
it's written in the stars. So yes, you could have Cody versus Braun Breaker because the WWE Championship is not the focal point of WrestleMania now. That match is. And so you could have Cody lose to Braun Breaker at WrestleMania to propel Braun Breaker.
Because you figure the match at Rumble is Cody versus Rock, right?
Probably, yeah.
And then Roman Reigns helps Cody beat The Rock.
Yeah,
not on purpose, but he comes out and helps.
Like I have a feling, and we're going to get into it later, but I think The Rock is going to be involved in the War Games match.
Okay. So we both agree with Braun Breaker, right, on this one?
Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. I think it's going to be one of those hard-hitting, both men will walk out with welts on their chests. but I think Braun Breaker has to win this. Yeah,
I feel like it's the hey Braun, not that I mean I know he's faced Sheamus before and all that, but I feel like it's like the old school hardcore Holly, Chris Benoit. We're going to beat the shit out of you and see how you react. With Sheamus taking that role this year.
Yeah.
So, let's see. We have undisputed WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens, which we've talked about in the past. I agree with you. I love that promo on SmackDown. I thought it was very well done. You actually hate yourself, Kevin, which I thought was great. I don't think Cody loses this, but I'll be honest. God, I would love for a Kevin Owens title reign. I really would.
So would I. I would too. I'd love to see him get a nice run, but I don't think right now is the right time.
Yeah, but my fear is that his window's closing, right, for another run. But I would love to see him get a run. It doesn't matter what's going to happen; these two are just going to destroy the shit out of each other.
But maybe he gets a run with the world title.
Yeah,
like you're gonna have the draft coming up soon. And maybe you switch him over to Raw, and you give him maybe a run at Gunther.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a fun match.
Yeah.
I like Gunther, but I think he's running into the problem that, and we can talk about this in a bit, I think he's running into the problem that Cody has. He hasn't had many great competitors yet. He hasn't had that one guy to really make that rivalry go. But we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah, I think it's Cody Rhodes to win. I could see it. I could see them battling all over the arena, coming back even before the match starts. Does Randy Orton come back, you think, during this match?
He might. Yeah, I could see that.
Since Owens pile drove him and supposedly hurt his neck, which I thought was a fantastic use of, again, showing that Vince McMahon's not in charge anymore, having Triple H tell Michael Cole, like, hey, pump it up that it's a banned move for the last 5 years. Old school Vince McMahon would never even let them talk that. Like, you can't say it's banned on TV. Like, Triple H is like, no, call it, make it banned. Say it, because it is.
But the other thing I love, though, is, and it's like, it shows like how wrestling is. Like, there's the WWE universe and there's everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, you drop a power driver on somebody and that gets you a 2 count.
Yeah.
In a WWF, that is such a devastating move that it's banned.
I mean, for fuck's sakes, you have Kyle Fletcher doing a tombstone power driver on Ospreay on the steps last night.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, fine. Like, he sold it, but then it's like, whatever.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, and people I love like watching the internet community like bitch about it, like, you know, and I get it. Like, there are certain moves that probably should be protected, but like they're not for whatever reason. But it's like the difference between the DC universe and the Marvel universe. WWE is Marvel and they have their own rules, and DC's, you know, everybody else is DC and they have their own rules with those moves. And like a DDT should be a devastating match ender, and the setup is not.
Yeah, poor Jake the Snake, his finisher.
Yeah, like the one thing I've always said is, I still think you could still make any one of those moves a finisher because you could say you've mastered it. I am the master of the DDT, and when I hit you with it, you are done. And then you protect it for that person. Like everybody else, like they hit it, but they don't hit it quite as well as I do.
Well, and that's a good example too, because Brock Lesnar, remember, he was hitting F5s like 16 times in a match, and they would jump out, they would kick out. Then he went against Samoa Joe, and it was one F5 that pinned him. And then from that point on, it was like, oh my God, this is the most devastating move. All you need to do it is one time. They kind of retconned it and said, no, we're not doing that anymore. One move, one time F5, and you're out. Yeah. Okay, so we both have Cody on that one.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm writing this down because I want to make sure that see how our predictions go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Pretty simple ones right now. Let's see here. We have the first War Games matchup, the women's. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Jade, who looks like she's out of it now since she was laying on a car.
And rumor is that Bayley's taking her place.
Really? Okay, I'll take that. Naomi and Io Sky versus Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez. Rodriguez. Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. Yeah. So this is basically just a hodgepodge because they all have issues with each other. And I'm not completely convinced that one of the villains, one of the heels, took out Jade. I could see somebody else taking her out. I could see Naomi taking Jade out.
That's the internet rumor. Yeah.
Is it?
That would be, yeah. That it was.
Ooh.
They're going to say it was Naomi.
I'm fine with that. That. I like this match. I'm guessing the Rhea's team wins because we'll get into it. My theory is you got to have one good guy, one bad guy team win the War Games match, right? If you have two, so I'm going with the faces on this one. What do you think?
See, I'm reversed. I think the villains win this.
Ooh, okay. Sean's going with the heels on this one. Okay.
Yeah, like I don't. First off, this match has been poorly put together.
It has.
It had like of all the matches on this card, this is the one where it's just like maybe you just shouldn't have had a women's War Games match.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like to me, it feels like this is just kind of being slapdash put together. Like there are storylines with all the characters involved,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like these aren't War Games teams.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, and with Io Sky being like with the good guys, I'm like, well, wasn't Damage Control just one of the worst factions?
Ugh. Yes.
You know, and now like all of a sudden, like okay, we'll let it slide. You know,
mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay.
Well, and she's only in it because she has a title shot against Liv Morgan.
Yeah.
Like, okay, great.
Yeah. So I'm like, it of all of the matches that we're talking about here, or potential matches, this is the one where I'm just like, oh man, like, you know, I hope they put on a good match. But there's a lot of good wrestlers in this match, but at the same time, I just don't see a storyline where you're just like, okay, I can see how this works.
The only thing I could see is the good guys winning and Nia Jax getting taken out by somebody, I don't know, Rhea Ripley, whatever, and Tiffany Stratton cashes in.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
That would, yes. I mean, I can see where that would work. Where like they've beaten Nia Jax down so bad,
mm-hmm.
or like you have a situation where like they're about to beat her down so bad, and Tiffany Stratton surrenders.
Yeah.
So that the good team wins, and then like she kind of pulls an MJF where she ends up like smacking her with the briefcase as a backstab, and then pin it, you know, taking the pin. Like I could see
I like that. That would be kind of cool. Well, and Candice LeRae, like I'm fine that she's in there, whatever, because I do like having more and more women wrestlers, like the ones that haven't been used much. But I don't understand what her point is. No offense, Candice LeRae. There's no point in her. Like, okay, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, they're together, right? They're on the same team. Jax and Stratton are technically on the same team. And LeRae has like started coming into that little third wheel thing with Jax and Stratton. But I just, it's like whatever. It's like Io Sky. You needed a fifth. Okay, throw her in. So
yeah.
And why do you take Jade Cargo out? Why do you think? Why do you think she's not in that? That's the one that confuses me.
My honest to God guess is they don't think she can perform in those conditions.
Yeah, she has improved.
Like most definitely she has improved. Like she has benefited from being in the WWE system.
Yeah,
no doubt about that. Because like I watched her in AEW and it was like, whew.
Yeah,
you know. But then you saw like moments of like, okay, well that's why she's got the push that she's gotten. Like, you know, but then there would be like a moment where you're like, oh, that was rough. So like I maybe it's just a situation where they think like, man, we just can't put her in this. Like she's gonna hurt somebody.
And that's a very good point. I mean, Personally, I think it would have been interesting to see her in there, but I don't think it loses anything with her not. I think Bailey actually would be better at it because she's had experience in it. And I like the Bailey character anyways. I like her wrestling. I think she's just a fun wrestler to watch. So I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, that one, I think there's a lot of uncertainty with this match, but I don't know if it really matters in this grand scheme. The only thing that would matter is if Stratton cashes in the Money in the Bank. That's the only thing I could see.
And one other thing I wonder about, because she released a video on Twitter this week.
Jade Cargill?
No.
Oh.
Of a diamond cracking. And that is the Charlotte Flair return.
Ugh. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, I could see like her like doing like a CM Punk type of just stepping out and pissing off everybody. So
when Poochie's not on the screen, we got to talk about Poochie. So everybody's got to ask, where's Poochie? Sorry, Simpsons reference. Fucking Charlotte Flair. Get the fuck out. Go to AEW. I don't give a shit. God.
Oh, she's never going to go to AEW. No, she's on Andrade.
No. You mean the ex-speed champion or current speed champion?
Yes.
That prestigious title.
That guy's got it so rough.
Oh, my God.
Like he's so good in the ring.
Yeah.
But it's like, for some reason, like nobody likes him. I don't know why.
I don't know. He never can get that final push.
No.
And I don't know why. It's kind of like, to be honest, it's kind of like Santos Escobar. I love Santos Escobar, but they never, like, when I was watching him face LA Knight this past week on SmackDown, I was like, I know he's not going to win. But I'm like, man, I would love for him to just, and I love LA Knight. I really do. But I would have loved to see Escobar get it just because I like him. And I'm like, give him a fucking title. Give him a tag team championship. I don't give a shit. Just give me Santos.
Yeah.
And my other concern is, why is Santos wearing a T-shirt now? He's always wearing a T-shirt when he wrestles. I'm like, what's going on there, Santos? Did you hit Thanksgiving early? What are we doing? Where are we doing?
Or maybe he's hiding like a brace.
Oh, that could be true. Yeah. See, you went the nice way. I went the asshole way.
He's been the potatoes and yams a little too hard. No.
Like I have any room to talk.
Yeah, me neither. But like, you're thinking he's putting on a weight. I'm thinking like, well, maybe he has an injury and he's hiding it.
Hey, Jason, stop being an asshole. Let's see here. So that's that match. We got World Heavyweight Championship Gunther versus Damian Priest. Who are you going with?
I think Gunther wins this match. Yeah. I think they've set it up that he has a rough match and he finds a way to win it because like he's questioning his confidence at this point. Like, he's lost to Cody, and the way Damian Priest has been talking to him. I like Damian Priest a lot. Like I
do too.
I've like when I first saw him, I'm like, why are they not pushing this guy harder? Like he has everything you need, but I'm glad he's got the push that he's got and he had to run with the world title. I think he has a very good match with Gunther. And at the end of the day, I think Gunther retains because I think, like, I honestly do. I think like at some point, like he doesn't, you can't invalidate that Intercontinental title run of 666 days by having him have like a 2-month run with the world title. Yeah,
I think the long game is actually Kaiser is going to take it from him. I think that's the long game. And I'm okay because then if you have Kaiser beat him, you just made a top level guy. Now I'm not sure if Kaiser's there. I don't know if he would do it well, or you have Kaiser face him at WrestleMania and lose. I think that's the other option too. But I think the end game for WrestleMania, or maybe even the Rumble, if you do it quicker, is Kaiser is facing Gunther. And then, so I agree. I think Gunther wins this. I don't think he loses it now. I like Damian Priest a lot. I'm hoping they move him away from the Judgment Day shit. And I like the guys in Judgment Day. Like I like Dominic Mysterio. I think he's hilarious. I like Finn Balor. The bobblehead I don't give a shit about. But they need to get the tag team titles off those guys. They need to move on from it and do something different. And I like that Liv Morgan brought Rodriguez into the Judgment Day, but I don't care about Rhea Ripley and Priest facing them for the 8th month. I just we need something new.
You need to move. It's that odd thing of well, if Rhea Ripley's not competing for the world title, what is she doing? And I that because you're booking her like Stone Cold.
Yes.
The way she's been booked lately, coming and people are like, oh, she's too powerful. I'm like, well, then you would have hated Stone Cold in 1999.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, but it's that thing of like that's what they've made her into. She is the modern day Stone Cold Steve Austin, and the way she's just manhandling her. So she always has to be in a title picture, always. Now, can you move her over to wrestling Nia Jax?
That was my thought. Is that you could do Nia Jax personally? If you're right, if Charlotte Flair comes back, you could have her versus Rhea without a title on the line. That would be that would be the only thing I would get behind with Charlotte Flair being in the picture. That would be kind of a fun match.
And the flip side with Damian Priest, at some point can you flip him over to SmackDown and have him have a feud with Cody?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think there's a lot more possibilities for Damian to go to SmackDown. I think there's a lot more opportunities for good matches than he is on Raw. He seems a little stale on Raw. I feel like Damian Priest just fits better on SmackDown. When you look at SmackDown, you're like, yeah, I could see that. Because personally, I think Cody fits better on Raw than SmackDown, and I think Gunther fits better on SmackDown than Raw. I would flip those two guys. It's just something about it.
But I feel like if you flip Damian Priest to SmackDown, you get him away from the Judgment Day.
Yep.
I'm fine with the Judgment Day remaining. I think it's a fun faction, and I think there's still a lot of things you could do with that. But if what you have to do is you have to get Priest away from them.
Yeah.
So you move him to SmackDown, you turn him heel, and he has a nice feud with Cody. I'm
fine with that. I would like to see that.
That would be the monster Cody kind of needs.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I understand why Damian Priest only had a short run as champion. I get that. I wish it was a little bit longer. I wish he had a little bit more defining run, but it feels like it's a setup to do a longer run down the road. I feel like, okay, you get the title. We're going to give it to you one time. We're going to let you feel it out. It's kind of like Eddie Guerrero's first run, right? The plan was to always get a bigger one down the road. Unfortunately, with Eddie, he passed away before that. But with Damian Priest, I feel like it's a setup for down the road. So yeah, like I said, I like Priest a lot. I think it's nice to have him in the title picture because it's somebody new. And they've done a good job adding new people, especially Triple H, with Gunther. Even Kevin Owens, he's not new, but he's back in it, so that's nice. You kind of give him a sense of direction because he floundered after him and Sami Zayn lost the titles. You didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
But yeah, so
you could have Priest win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he goes and challenges Cody.
I'm okay with that.
Match. And that would be a good WrestleMania match.
Yeah, and when we do the Rumble preview, obviously we'll get into who our picks would be for who's going to win that year, that Rumble. But I think Braun or Priest would be good winners of the Rumble. I'm fine with either one.
Yeah.
So, I will say, though, Sean, if we do the Rumble and you pick Charlotte Flair as one of your options, I will never talk to you again. Fucking asshole. God, that bitch. Oh, my God. Oh, God, I can't stand her.
It's going to be a king and queen. It's going to be Charlotte Flair and Andrade.
Oh, where's Poochie? We got to talk Poochie. Jesus. Yeah, so... go back to the Gunther Priest match. I think Gunther I don't think Priest taps out. I think he passes out. I think he wins that way.
Yeah, I you have to keep Priest strong, and you have him like you said, he doesn't tap out.
Yeah.
He passes out, and Gunther, regains his confidence, quote unquote.
The other option is too, Kaiser knocks him out or knocks Priest out or whatever, or helps Gunther win, right? And Gunther doesn't appreciate it, and then you put the divide in between Kaiser and Gunther more.
Yeah.
That's the other option, I thought. I really am sold on Kaiser splitting from him eventually. Personally, I wouldn't mind if Gunther got a bigger team with Imperium again. I wouldn't mind that. I think I would be fine with that, because he's a good, strong leader, and you could sell it as everyone follows him because he wins. I don't know who you would put in that group anymore. I know it probably wouldn't make sense, but I wouldn't mind Pete Dunne with him, to be honest with you.
I'd make a call and see if Rusev is available.
That would be fun. Like I said, like I said earlier, I don't think he moves the needle that much as people think, but I think Rusev would do well with that grouping. I think as a hired thug. I would say Rich Holland, but you just hope he doesn't hurt somebody. Good old Rich.
Yeah.
Good old Rich. So final match here. We have the War Games match between Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and the returning CM Punk versus the new bloodline of Solo, Jacob Fatu, Tama and Tonga Loa, or Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and Bronson Reed, who I guess is now officially part of the bloodline because he gave the #1 sign to him. Did you see that on SmackDown?
I did see that. Yeah, he acknowledged his tribal chief.
I'm okay with that. I actually don't mind that if you don't have somebody connected to the family coming in. He's kind of like their version of Sammy.
Not only that, he's from New Zealand. He has Polynesian heritage.
Yeah.
So you can kind of no, you're not related. You're still a noose.
Mm-hmm.
Type of deal. I think this match is going to be fun.
Yes.
And it's funny because this is one of those times where it's and this is again part of the problem with Cody Rhodes' world championship run is he is the B story. This is the A story.
Mm-hmm.
This has always been the A story.
Yeah.
And it's just been when's Roman coming back? When's Jimmy and Jay going to join him? When Sammy comes into the fold? Now the wise man is back. This was the whole thing was this has been the story of since WrestleMania, really.
Yeah, Paul Heyman coming back on SmackDown this week was amazing. Loved it.
And it's the little things, he was not wearing a 3-piece suit.
Nope.
He was wearing a suit similar to what Solo wears.
Yep, and the colors are very Solo-like.
Yeah, if you look back, he was basically wearing the same suit, only much larger.
Mm-hmm.
the night that he got put through the table.
Yeah. Do you think he turns and joins Solo?
I don't think he joins Solo, but I think there's an interesting moment at the end of SmackDown where Roman asks CM Punk, you could just see him if you're reading lips, what are you doing here? And CM Punk says, I'm not here for you, I'm here for him, and he points to Heyman.
Yeah. And he is a Paul Heyman guy, CM Punk has said. Does Heyman get his own group?
You go back to the night, I can't remember what it was wasn't long after WrestleMania where Heyman was he approached Punk on SmackDown. It was and he's I need you to take me with you.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that whole thing of Roman never called Heyman after WrestleMania,
mm-hmm.
not until last week, and the number was no longer a good number. It was all these little things of I don't think Paul Heyman is returning for Roman. I think he's returning to get revenge on Solo, and CM Punk is his instrument of destruction.
And I actually wouldn't be upset if you added a third faction to this. I don't know if you need them to be in the bloodline, but you could have, because it's Punk Raw Punk's Raw, right?
Yeah, Punk's Raw. Yeah,
you could have Punk have a new faction on Raw with Heyman, basically saying next week, the week after the Survivor Series, tell Roman, look, I'm done with you. I'm tired of this. I got beaten up. I got the shit beat out of me. You guys have a, fucked up family. I'm out of here. And like you said,
you left.
Yeah, you left me. You haven't even called me since I got injured, except when you needed something.
Yeah, you left me, and you left me with this maniac.
Yes. Which, oh my gosh, when he was with Solo, when Heyman was with Solo, was some of the best acting. It was just awesome to see. Just Heyman's reactions to the shit. Like when he brought in Jacob Fatu, I'm like, holy shit.
Even brought in the Tongans. Like,
yes.
It was like, he's like, there's a reason why Roman didn't call these people.
Yes.
They're insane. And like but Paul Heyman, that's just how good Paul Heyman is. Like, and it was like the little touches, like not dyeing his hair so letting the gray come out.
Yeah.
Not shaving. Probably not sleeping for 2 nights before he appeared on TV.
Yeah.
So he had like that distressed look on his face. Like those are the type of things that Paul Heyman like excels at.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming back, like wearing the suit, like not wearing the 3-piece suit, but like the suit similar to what Solo wears, like looking clean shaven, dyed, like the look on his face as he was kind of staring down Roman, the way he brought out Punk and like everything about it, just it like say what you will about Paul Heyman. There's a lot of things you could say about him, especially like about ECW.
Yeah,
but the guy knows the business.
Yes, he does.
He knows how to write a storyline. He knows how to manipulate a crowd. He knows how to just tweak the little things and those little things that are going to be important that, you maybe you don't notice or maybe you do, but like he is a master of his craft. There is not a doubt in my mind about that.
And I think that's part of the things that Triple H has done really well with the Bloodline. Like everything connects, even small things. What was it, 2 weeks ago when Roman Reigns went to call Heyman and it was disconnected? Yeah. People online were talking about Sami Zayn throwing a phone onto the couch at one point.
Yeah.
And you're like, is that, Paul Heyman's phone? Like, he just took it from him. And it's like, I personally think Sami Zayn turns. I think he joins the new Bloodline, to be honest with you. Or if he doesn't join the new Bloodline, I don't know if he joins them, but I think he turns on Reigns and Usos and was like, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm done with this. It's kind of like, Paul Heyman is going to be done with it, is what we think. And maybe Zayn joins Paul Heyman and CM Punk. I wouldn't be upset with that either. And I don't even know if Paul Heyman gets a new faction. Maybe it's just him and Punk getting the fuck out of there. But I have a feeling, my gut is saying that Zayn turns on Roman. And for all the years of, you never think I'm part of the family. Even when he came back and helped him, he's like, you're not part of the family. And it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, I helped you. So I would not be surprised if Zayn turns. I really don't. And so I'm going with the heels. I'm going with the new Bloodline winning. I really do. I think Sami Zayn turns. And I think there's a bigger issue. I don't think CM Punk turns or anything like that. I think if you're going to have Paul Heyman leave them, I think it's going to be the following SmackDown after Survivor Series. But I think Zayn turns. And he may not be with the new Bloodline, but he's not going to be with the old Bloodline either. What are you going with?
I have a feeling. I mean, what you're saying would not surprise me in the least. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. But I feel like this is the win the OG Bloodline needs.
You think? You think they need this?
I do. They've been getting the shit beaten out of them.
Yeah.
For weeks now. Like last week was the first time like Roman was not laying in the middle of the ring with Solo standing over and wearing the necklace.
Yeah.
And it's that thing of like, at some point you've got to give the OG Bloodline a win. And I think this is the win they need. And maybe it propels them to Roman versus Solo at the Rumble for tribal leadership.
And then Rock comes back, helps Solo, so Solo wins at the Rumble, and then that sets up WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah.
Do you think The Rock shows up on Survivor Series?
I think he might. Like the problem is like right now I know he's filming Moana.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The live
So
action.
I think yeah. So right now I know he's in Hawaii or someplace in the South Pacific filming that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if his schedule will allow him to show up for Survivor Series, but I mean, I would not be surprised.
I actually hope he doesn't. I hope they do hold it off until the Rumble when so that's not a bad plan at all. I like that plan of Solo versus Roman for the leadership. My issues, I'm the opposite. I think the Bloodline needs this win because I feel like they lose too much. I feel like for as much talk as they have, my fear is that Solo couldn't beat Cody Rhodes, which I don't think it was right for him to win the title anyways. At that point, he's not ready. But you put him in that match, and you're like, ugh, it's going to be a good match, but I don't need it. I think the new Bloodline needs it more. Now, you could also argue that eventually the losses are going to mount up against the new Bloodline, that Jacob Fatu just goes apeshit and destroys Solo and takes over. I'm fine with that because Jacob Fatu is a beast. He was amazing in Major League Wrestling, and I love Jacob Fatu.
And he's been amazing here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, the only reason I don't think Jacob Fatu, like, his whole thing of, like, the hands, like, pressed together and, like, I love you, Solo.
Yes.
Which is, like, tremendous. Like I crack up every time he does that. But it's, like I don't see... Like, I could see the Tongans cracking more than I could Fatu.
I don't think Fatu cracks for a long time, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be WrestleMania. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I think it's definitely down the road. But yeah, Fatu, and maybe it's just because I'm selfish because I love Jacob Fatu and I think he would really do well with it. But I could see it down the road happening. I don't like I said. I don't think it's going to be soon. I don't think it's going to be at War Games. I don't even think it's probably going to be at WrestleMania. But yeah, his character work is amazing. I love you.
like a war between Solo and Jacob Fatu would be amazing because you could have like Jacob Fatu being like, I loved you. And I gave you everything I have and you delivered nothing.
Yeah.
And this is why I have to do this. I have to destroy you to make me stronger. Like that would be like, I could see him cutting a promo like that. And like, it would be like, just let them go to war as two just beasts.
Were you surprised CM Punk came back for this?
I think it was the best swerve they could have pulled.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, it explains why Heyman's back.
Yes.
But two, once you announced Bronson Reed was going to be with the new bloodline, like everybody was like, well, Seth has to join.
Yes. Which I expected that. I really thought, I didn't think it was Cody. I thought it was going to be Seth, which is kind of predictable, which I think where you're going, but I like this swerve better.
I like this to work better and this is the main reason why. I mean, there's two reasons. One, it gives Heyman a way to kind of like say, like, CM Punk was willing to protect me, where you could play that whole storyline out. But two, it honestly protects Seth's character.
Yeah.
Like there was no way you could have allowed Seth's character to be teaming with Roman.
Not after WrestleMania.
No, Seth acted as Cody's shield. Roman chose to beat Seth with a chair over keeping the world title.
Yep.
Like these are that rift between those two is so large and so filled with hate that to have them in this match together would have made no sense. So it protects Seth's character. It protects Roman in a way too, because like you can still have like later on that final feud with those two.
That's a very good summary, Sean, because at this point, as much as Seth hates Bronson Reed, right? And they've been feuding for a couple months, and he hates him in the story. He doesn't hate him enough to put away his vengeance for Reigns, like his hatred for Reigns. So he hates Reigns still more than he hates Bronson Reed, and he rather sit this one out because of his hatred for Reigns than get in the ring and get his hands dirty with Reed. Like he's like, no, I'm going to do that on my own. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it protects that storyline of the rift between those two, and it's. Like every time they approached him, I was just like, "Oh, please don't do it! Please don't do it!" And like he kept saying, "No, I'll never do it. I'll never team with Roman Reigns. I can never do that. I hate him too much." And I was like, and when they showed Bronson Reed with the bloodline, I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna do it." And it was like, this is a great swerve to put Punk in there, and now you have connective tissue to it all, and now you have another storyline that you can kind of play out. I did like when they were like, Reigns, they're like, hey, why don't you call Cody? And Reigns is like, no, I'm not calling him, whatever. And I'm like, Cody has a match with Kevin Owens. You can't have him do that. He can't go to Kevin Owens and then War Games. Leave the guy alone. I could see Rollins coming out and attacking Bronson Reed when he comes out of the cage. Or I could see him really getting dirty and getting into the cage and security pulling Rollins away, like taking him back out. But I definitely see Rollins attacking Bronson Reed, and maybe he even attacks him as, you know, a camera operator inside the War Games cage, like he's dressed up as that. And that's part of that's how you take Bronson Reed out of the match, like because you know Bronson Reed's not taking the pinfall, right? If the new bloodline loses. Because they built him up too much. It's going to be it's either going to be Tama or Tonga. One of those is going to lose the match if they're going to.
Do they do it that it's once the match begins, it's a pinfall
or submission?
Okay, because like I love the War Games match.
I do too.
It's like one of my favorites, going all the way back to when Dusty Rhodes created it, and it was like the Four Horsemen against Dusty and his coalition.
Mm-hmm.
But it was always like in the NWA, and AEW does a similar match called Blood and Guts.
Yes,
but they always do it as you have to surrender.
Yeah, which I kind of like. I kind of like that, the whole surrendering part.
Right, and the reason they did it with 5 guys is like that way they could put J.J. Dillon in the match.
Mm-hmm.
And JJ could be the one who took the surrender.
Yeah.
You know,
and I actually don't mind them taking the roof off. WWE taking the roof off. I don't have an issue with that one bit.
I kind of do, and it was kind of the point of like it was supposed to be like this. There's no way anybody can get into the cage. Like it was like, I mean, the first cage unfortunately led to J.J. Dillon getting his collarbone broken because of a bad.
That was the power bomb, wasn't it?
No, it was.
That was later with Sid Vicious.
Yeah, no, J.J. Dillon in the first War Games broke his collarbone when the cage was too short, and Hawk was trying to go off the top rope for the
Doomsday device.
The Doomsday device.
Yeah,
and he had the bad angle, and when he JJ came down, he came down wrong.
Yeah,
because they couldn't. Like when Hawk was standing on the top rope, he had to crouch down because of the cage, the top of the cage.
That's right. I forgot about
that.
The powerbomb was Sid Vicious versus who was that? Was that Pillman that he did?
I think so.
Yeah. It was the same thing. It's like Vicious didn't realize that the cage was low. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
How about we just do a scaffold match next between the bloodlines? Get a scaffold. Hey, let's wrestle on this 2x2 board. Yeah, we can do tons of moves. A punch, a kick. Okay, that's it. See ya.
Here's the worst part about a scaffold match. Like you had the Midnight Express one of the greatest tag teams ever.
Yeah.
And who were like ahead of their time as far as like the type of moves they were doing and stuff. Against the Road Warriors, who that match obviously catered to because all they could do was kick and punch.
Yes.
That was the first one. And then the second one was against the Rock and Roll Express,
Mm-hmm.
who were just as good as the Midnight Express. And like that match had no right being on a scaffold because they could have done so much more in like a cage. But for some reason they did the scaffold match again. And it's like worst matches ever.
I don't understand. And obviously it's a different era, right? But that was the most the most unsafe match you could have done. Like, hey, we're just going to throw you through this off the scaffold because Cornette
broke his leg.
Was that the first match or the second match he broke his leg?
I think it was the first match.
Was it? Hey, you know what? Let's go back up there.
Yeah, because he landed on Big Bubba Rogers and
that's right, good old Big Bubba.
Yeah, but like what makes to make it even worse is like ECW did scaffold matches with like tables stacked on top of each other.
Yes. I'm guessing that was probably just New Jack saying, "Hey, throw some shit out there, I'll do it."
No, I think the first one was the first time they did it was Sandman against Bryan Adams.
Oh God. Let's see all the scaffold matches.
No, I mean I think that there was the one in XPW, or I can't remember. Like after ECW folded, there was that other Extreme, the one out of California that was by the guy who did Porno.
Yes,
and I think that was the one where New Jack tased the guy and threw him off of the scaffold and didn't care if he died.
That's right. So the very first one was Jerry Jarrett versus defeated Don Green in 1971 Memphis. This is the one that's infamous. Bill Dundee defeated Coco Beware. I forgot about that one. Bill Dundee beat Dutch Mantel. Oh God. Loser leaves Texas 1984. Bob Sweden defeated Eric Embry. Fucking Eric Embry.
Wow.
Bill Dundee's been actually in a lot of these.
He was the master of the scaffold.
Jeez, oh Pete.
But like in Memphis, they did a lot of crazy shit. Like,
yeah, because the first 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6 were Memphis.
Yeah, like Memphis was like ECW before ECW because they did a lot of wackadoo shit.
Nice job on ECW. Tommy Dreamer defeated Brian Lee in 1996.
Okay.
And then after that, New Jack defeated Vic Grimes. That's the one.
That's the one, yeah.
It was XPW, Free Fall.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeez. The last one was Rhino defeated James Storm at TNA Destination X in 2008. Oh, jeez. I don't know if I want Rhino or James Storm in 2008 falling off a scaffold.
No, I mean...
Oh, my gosh.
That was probably into an octagon ring, too.
Here we go. In 2005, Midnight Express defeated the Rock and Roll Express in CCW. Oh, God. What are you guys doing? But you know what? Shit. Bill Dundee even did one in 2003.
Bill Dundee was like 80 at that point.
Yeah. Memphis Wrestling, 2003. He lost to Kevin White, which might be the worst wrestling name ever. What's your name? I am Kevin White. God. I just find that funny that Bill Dundee's like, fuck this, I'll show you how it's done. 2003, let's go.
I can still go.
Bill, they're literally going to throw you off a scam. I'm fine. Oh my God. So in 2003, when he did this, he was 60 years old.
Jeez.
What the fuck? You better
at least
what's that?
At least they learned from like when Jericho got thrown off of the top of the blood and guts cage. At least they had like a crash pad. Now it looked awful, but at least they had a crash pad. For him. Like I'm sure Bill Dundee like hard weighed that, and
he's like, I'm not fucking doing that, you pussies. I'll do it. Kevin White was born in Henderson, Tennessee. He was trained by Bill Dundee. There you go. That's why.
There you go. That's why.
Bill
Dundee gave him the honors.
I guess.
Yeah.
He had one title run for 35 days as the USA North American Heavyweight Champion. Yay.
Good for Kevin White.
He was still wrestling up until 2015. Wow. Sorry. Now you maybe go down the road. He started wrestling in 2002.
I'm sure he had a nice run in the NWA at that time, which
let's see. He was in USA Wrestling a lot.
Yeah.
Memphis Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in Memphis pretty much up until Pete.
Probably because I was still being run. I mean, I think Jerry Lawler still ran Memphis, and him and Bill Dundee.
He lost to Eugene. Jeez, in Memphis. Yeah, he ended his career in Memphis and Crossfire Wrestling, and there was also another one, USACW. My gosh, All-Star Tribute match. Jeez, Pete. USACW. Okay, you got to only have 3. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's awesome. Sorry, I digress.
No, I mean that's tremendous. Like there. I mean, the fact that Bill Dundee wrestled the fact that they did a scaffold match in 2005 is shocking. The fact that Bill Dundee, age 60,
isn't that elder abuse?
Off the scaffold.
That's elder abuse.
It is. Yes, it is. I mean, I agree. I completely agree, and I'm sure Bill Dundee was like, I'll be fine. No, don't you worry about me. I'm still good.
Okay, so. This is awesome. In 2015, one of his last matches, you ready? Nature Boy Kevin White versus superstar Bill Dundee. And the headline of that match was Cowboy James Storm versus Sabu. There you go. Whew.
Wow.
I like that Sabu doesn't go against Bill Dundee in a scaffold match, but Kevin White will. And oh my God, he looks like if you combine Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner, like the outfit, and he has a mullet. Nice.
Oh.
You know what? We should get some residuals from promoting Kevin White this much.
Exactly. Yes. Kevin White, you owe Kevin. Us because nobody's fucking heard of you outside of Memphis.
No. Good old Kevin.
I'll bet that James Storm Sabu match was a banger, though.
Oh, I'm sure they just beat the shit out of each other on an independent circuit.
Yeah.
They just took that down. They're like, fuck you.
I mean, I've watched Sabu and ECW house shows doing shit where I'm just like, it's a house show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, you don't have to, do that.
Yeah. But they don't care.
No, they did. At that time, they did not. Like, they were putting on pay-per-view level matches at house shows for some ungodly reason, and I got every bit of my $25 worth.
Yeah. And, there's a local company that does I live outside of Cincinnati in a little farmer area, and there's a local place in my small town that still does independent wrestling, and it's funny because they'll still get they get Brian Pillman Jr., they had him as the champion for a while because he lives in Cincinnati. They had him here. They had, oh my God, they had so many. Who was the guy that came out with the dancing back in WWE? Like he had the Rosebuds, Adam Rose. He was here.
Yeah.
He was here for a long time. I mean, the amount of old WWE guys that they got was pretty good. Rene Dupree was here for a while. And I'm like, how do you make money at this? Because they're literally doing these matches at I'm not kidding, this soccer complex that I go to for my boot camp, my exercise boot camp. They're putting the ring on the soccer field, indoor soccer field, and they're doing it at the local bar. And I'm like, how do you make money? Because these guys are not cheap, right? They're probably not expensive, but they're probably not the cheapest either. And they would have a lot of other independent, but they would have 5 or 6 old WWE and WCW and ECW guys come. And I'm like, good for you. But yeah, it was always funny just to see which ones that they had show up. So I'm hoping Kevin White's there soon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was one of those things. I remember Cody talking about it. Like when he was leaving WWE, he talked to Kevin Owens.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, how do I make money? And he's like, you are going to be crisscrossing the country on weekends to hit 2 or 3 shows
Mm-hmm.
because you're that's what you have to do to make ends meet. You can't like just like sit in one spot. So like he talks about like he was doing all these independent shows and like getting like decent money for it, but still it was like you had to do like 2, 3, 4 over a weekend.
Yeah, because you would go in the morning, wrestle at some farm, probably like some county fair, and then you go to at night to a soccer complex.
Some soccer complex or bingo hall or VFW or whatever it was, wrestle in front of 25 people.
I mean, I will give them credit. The local one had 200 people at the soccer complex one. You were sitting on a soccer field. You probably did not get to take the chairs home, though. You did not get to take the chairs. And I've always wanted to check them out, but I just never got a chance to. And the tickets are reasonable. I think they're $20, $25. And a lot of it is like for an extra $15, you can do a meet and greet with all the wrestlers and get their autographs. They had Marty Jannetty the one time, and I'm like, oh, do we need to talk to Marty? Marty, did you kill anyone in this town?
Yeah.
Did you date your daughter, allegedly? Stepdaughter or whatever?
Well, I do know, like I talked about, Pro Wrestling Express, which is out of McKeesport here in the which if you know anything about the Pittsburgh area, McKeesport is like the armpit of Allegheny County. But Lee Moriarty came out of there.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And CZW, which they run shows in Elizabeth, PA at a soccer complex like you go to. And both Britt Baker and I can't think of his name now because he's not being used for anything. The guy who used to be MJF's bodyguard.
Who? Wardlow?
The guy who used to be Wardlow, yeah. Both Britt Baker and Wardlow came out of there.
Okay. DMD.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean it is, but like you're right. Like every once in a while, you'll look at like one of their posters, like they'll have up for like this is our next big pay-per-view quality show, and they'll be like somebody like old WWE guy, like Santino Marella. You're like, wow, okay.
Oh,
didn't know you were around.
You mean he's not Italian?
Yeah.
Wardlow. That's another one. Jeez, Pete.
Yeah.
I think he goes to NXT. I think it is WWE when his contract's up.
I hope so.
I think he could do well.
He's got way too much talent and way too much charisma to be in the position he's in.
Hey, remember that time he beat MJF in like 5 minutes?
5 seconds.
Yeah.
Like he footballed him like 6 times and stood on him.
Hey, that led to his title. Oh, no, didn't. No.
Yeah.
Never mind. Why would you build that up after that? Never mind. Anyways. Well, Sean, I appreciate you coming on. This has been a lot of fun. I love that we did this. So I'm going to run down what we picked. We both picked Braun to beat Sheamus. Yes. We both picked Cody to beat Kevin Owens.
Yes.
In the women's war game match, you picked the heels. I picked the face.
Yes.
We both picked Gunther. And the men's war games match, I picked the heels. You picked the face. We switched on that.
Yes, we did.
So the only thing we disagreed on was the war games match.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Next Saturday, I already have it in my calendar on my phone. This is a family calendar. My wife always laughs because I always put in, don't schedule anything, Survivor Series or Rumble or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, you can go somewhere. I'm not going anywhere. So my daughter brings down her pillow. I bring down my pillow and we lay on the couch watching these. I usually fall asleep and she wakes me up when the main event comes. But so I'm looking forward to it. I wish they would have had one, like a regular, and I know with war games it makes it tough, but I would have loved to have like an old school Survivor Series match in there. I think you could even have turned the women's match into that.
I think the women's match would have worked better as that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised under Triple H they haven't moved that way with some of those. I watch those old Survivor Series, like when Hogan gets his team, or Warrior gets his Ultimate Maniacs and all that. It's like those are fun.
Those can be fun, like if you only do like one of them.
Yeah, if you do a whole pay-per-view, it gets long. Yeah,
and it gets boring. Like you're like, I don't care. But if you did like have like one War Games match and then one tag elimination match like that. I think that would have been fun. I think Triple H is doing the War Games because it's, you know, he has a deep appreciation for Dusty Rhodes, and this was a Dusty creation, and I think he wants to keep that going. He was using it in NXT, and then when he got in charge at, you know, the top level, he brought that with him.
Vince would be like, I don't understand this. We have a blue cage. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I think that's part of it. I think it's Triple H is just love and affection for Dusty Rhodes, and having that match is part of, like, you know, his tip of the hat to Dusty. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Sean, tell us where we can find you at.
You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search Pittsburgh Nerd Podcast. We're very, very easy to find. We are also on a number of podcasting networks. We're on the Tangibound Network, which I believe you are as well.
We are.
Geeks Network, which I believe you are as well. And we are also on the Pod Breed Network. You can find us there, or on any of your major podcasting platforms. We're everywhere. Just search Pittsburgh Nerd.
There you go. Sean, we are going to do this again for the Rumble.
Yes.
I'm glad you sent me a message about Survivor Series because I completely forgot about it. I knew it was on my thing to do one with you. I really wanted to. I completely forgot because, I completely forgot Survivor Series was coming up. Like, I watch wrestling, but I don't even, it didn't even click with me like, oh shit, that's a week away. So, yeah. So I'm glad.
I'm glad I did too, because this is fun.
It is.
I enjoy talking with you about wrestling. Like I said, this is my outlet now.
Yeah. You know, I think we're going to have to. I think our goal is, Sean, that we take maybe decades of wrestling and do like special episodes, like the 80s or the 90s or 2000s, and do something like that.
I would love that, because like like there were so many rabbit holes I wanted to go down. I'm like, no, I gotta stay focused.
I know,
you know. So I'm trying to stay focused, but at the same time, like there's so much, like, because I like watching that as a kid. Like that was like my big thing. I think I've got you by about 2 or 3 years of age. So,
yeah,
like,
I'm 45.
No, I've got you by a lot. Then I just turned 52 yesterday.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah.
I hope to make it to 52.
So yeah, I've got you by 7 years. So like I was watching like that, the stuff that you're watching now, like the stuff from like Crockett and the 80s. Like I was watching that in my teens.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I and stuff like that. So like, you know, even later on, like, you know, when ECW was at its height, I was going to those shows where you were probably.
Yeah. What was that? 93-ish. 94.
But well, I mean, I went to the 1997 November.
Okay. I was 18. Yeah, I was just graduating. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started watching ECW. I want to say 95.
Well, if we do decades, especially the 80s, I'll bring number one fan Doug on the show too, because he knows he's a big wrestling fan from back then. He still watches it, I think, once in a blue moon. And I talk wrestling with him in that. He'll usually text me and go, what the fuck is this going on? Why is Cody still champ? But I'll bring him on for the 80s. The other one I was thinking is, see, I got my mind thinking now with wrestling talk, because no one else talks wrestling with me, is forgotten wrestlers down the road we could do too. So
absolutely.
I like these special episodes. And for the rest of my crew, fuck them. You know, if they don't want to talk wrestling, fuck them.
I agree. I'm in the same boat. Like, you know, I get it.
Especially that Blake guy.
I need an outlet, and you are it now, Jason.
Let's do it. I like it. Yeah. So we will at least do the Rumble is the next one. We might be able to do something in between there too, if you're free. So we'll talk off air.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, everybody, thanks for listening. Hopefully more than 5 people listen to a wrestling talk show, but, you know, we'll see.
I hope so. Yeah.
And Roger says goodbye.
From Walking Dead to Talking Heads, from comic books to TV sets, there's a history. If not so bad, there's the history. It's the history of bad, so bad. The history of bad, it's bad. The history of bad ideas. Podcast.